Thank you, Dr. Pooja, for inviting me to be a part of your IC. After two wonderful presentations, I'm going to present something which is very basic, no surgeries, no planning, no formulae, but I think something very relevant because every now and then we encounter this one patient who keeps getting on our nerves and we really not sure of how to manage him in our private practice. So my presentation today is titled Don't Get on My Nerves. My case is that of a 40-year-old male patient who came to us with complaints of burning, pain, irritation, foreign body sensation, discomfort in both eyes. His complaints were quite chronic, duration being more than 2 years. He was treated at multiple other hospitals and a lot of doctor shopping was done before he finally came to us with no relief. On examination, his visual acuity was normal in both eyes. There was no history of refractive surgery or contact lens use. Anterior segment examination was within normal limits except for the presence of a few capped meibomian glands. On fluorescence staining, the tear film meniscus height was normal in both eyes. Tear film breakup time was, however, slightly reduced. It was 4 seconds in both eyes. The Sherman's test with and without anesthetic was also normal in both eyes. Coming to the ocular surface disease index questionnaire. So this is a questionnaire which is used to subjectively grade the amount of disability the patient experiences due to ocular surface disease. As we know, it is divided into two subscales, the discomfort subscale and the vision subscale. Our patient's OSDI score was as high as 65, indicating severe disability due to surface disease. The normal range is 0 to 12. So the patient was already treated elsewhere, but we still tried to treat him with hot compresses, preservative-free artificial tears, antibiotic steroid ointments, and topical steroids, topical cyclosporin, doxycycline. However, none of our treatments really work like they did not earlier. We also tried LipiFlow because he did have mild MGD, mild evaporative dry eye, but the improvement was only transient, lasting about 3 to 4 weeks. So we had a patient of mild evaporative dry eye whose symptoms were much, much more than his signs, and we really could not explain what the missing link was because we did not know what to do to help him do better. So we decided to proceed with a more detailed ocular and systemic workup. Two imaging modalities that we used were the confocal microscopy, the HRT2 with the Rostock cornea module, and the handheld OCT by spectral domain OCT by Bioptigen. So just to describe a bit on confocal microscopy, the image to the left is how a normal subbasal nerve plexus looks. Each frame is about 400 by 400 microns acquired on the HRT2. The image to the right shows these tiny specks which are actually immature dendritic cells. And the lower image shows mature dendritic cells which have these tentacle-like projections, and hence the name dendrite because it looks like a dendrite, like a neuron. Coincidentally, in both eyes of this patient, we saw something called a microneuroma, that enlarged white speck that you see in both eyes. This is nothing but a dilated terminal nerve fiber spout. This was seen in the central cornea at a depth of approximately 60 microns. On imaging using the handheld OCT, we saw a Bowman's membrane break, which was a very interesting and novel finding, also seen in both eyes in the central cornea, marked by the yellow arrows as in this diagram. The resolution of this OCT is about 1 to 2 microns, which is very, very high. And hence we could capture this interesting finding. So to summarize, both eyes of my patient had dendritic cells, microneuromas, and Bowman's membrane breaks in both eyes. And when we went on to investigate him systemically, his systemic profile was completely all right, except for the presence of a very low vitamin D level, 5.86 Ng per ml. The normal range is 30 to 100 Ng per ml. The physician decided to treat him parenterally by giving him 3 lakh international units IM every 3 monthly for 6 months. Within 2 months, his post-treatment level improved to 45 Ng per ml. And the OSDI score dropped to 2.14, which was well within the normal range of 0 to 12. Our patient obtained a lot of relief. He was very happy, and so were we, because he was no longer getting on our nerves now. We went ahead and published this in Cornea. And since then, vitamin D has been an important part of our practice in post-refractive as well as dry eye in general. So just to elaborate a little further on vitamin D and confocal microscopy, the mature dendritic cells, that is the ones with the tentacles, are the ones proposed to be highly responsible for the nociception and pain in dry eye, because these are in close proximity to the nerve endings and cause a lot of irritation. In another publication on mild evaporative dry eye, it was shown that the dendritic cell density, total density, as well as immature and mature dendritic cell density was significantly higher in evaporative dry eye compared to matched controls. So a normal nerve fiber density as well as normal dendritic cell density means that the OSDI score in the patient is likely to be lower and the patient is likely to have less symptoms. And worsened nerve fiber parameters such as low nerve fiber density, less branches, less branch points, and increased dendritic cells means increased OSDI scores and more symptoms and an uncomfortable patient. So we propose this pathway of pain on the basis of the imaging findings noted in our patients, that there is ongoing inflammation which causes rarefaction of the basal epithelium, and this causes microscopic breaks in the Bowman's layer. This acts as a conduit for the inflammation from the surface to enter the stroma. This subepithelial inflammation causes a dendritic cell recruitment as well as irritation of the nerve fibers, which is responsible for pain. In another study, the dry eye evaluation, OSDI, confocal microscopy, vitamin D was correlated with tear film cytokines. Tear film was inflammatory markers, as on the flowchart to the left, were measured, and it was found that significantly upregulation and downregulation correlated with OSDI scores, TBUT, Schirmer's, and dendritic cell density. So to add on to our flow chart, irritation of these nerves causes release of proteolytic enzymes which cause further degradation in the anterior stroma and Bowman's and causes breaks in Bowman's membrane, which further propagates the cycle of pain. So to summarize, the ocular surface is high in inflammatory markers, which deranges the subbasal nerve plexus parameters and causes dendritic cell recruitment, causes more inflammation and more hyperalgesia and allodynia. Hyperalgesia means heightened sensitivity to normal stimuli, and allodynia means experiencing pain because of stimuli which would otherwise not incite any pain. So when we treat the patient with supplemental vitamin D in addition to other management of evaporative dry eye, the inflammatory markers reduce, the inflammation reduces, as well as the confocal microscopy parameters improve, and the patients definitely get better. So to summarize, when we have a patient who is not responding to topical treatment, it is prudent to look at systemic factors. It's very easy to ask for a vitamin D test. We know that vitamin D has anti-inflammatory properties. It directly affects the eye by playing with the cytokine levels and affecting nociception directly. We cannot possibly have confocal microscopy in our practices every day, but we showed that the OSDI score correlated very well with vitamin D and the inflammatory markers. So OSDI score is a very important tool to keep in mind, which is when we can think that this patient would possibly benefit from vitamin D treatment. And it definitely hastens the symptomatic relief in evaporative dry eye. So this work was done while I was a fellow in Narayan Netralaya, and I would really like to thank these people who have been a part of my journey with vitamin D and nurse. Thank you very much.